Okay, 9 o'clock sharp. We're gonna start, cause then David can go to bed.
Yep.
All right. So.
Old people, yes. Need to hit the bed around 10:30.
Here's older than me. Okay, everyone. I hope everyone is like kind of joining us again after the break. So we have for our second session for the night. I'm so excited to have David Yeung with me. Thank you so much for joining us. We will have, let's do like a 40-minute to talk, like leaving 10 minutes at the end for Q&A. And I'm just gonna dive right in because like otherwise we can sit here and talk for 3 hours and it's still not enough. So first of all, I'm gonna show a video because like Green Monday has been doing so many things. I think the quickest way is just for me to show a quick video of what has been going on to introduce David and Green Monday Group. So here we go. Done. And everyone, you can double click on that screen to make it bigger. This is showing all the markets that you're already in. Super exciting. Singapore, Taiwan, Thailand. Party, yeah, first.
This is an opportunity for everyone, including obviously the government, to really think about a new direction.
David 同我講喺度咯，佢覺得我睇到希望。
Wow, 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 that's a strong start. David, so tell us like how many Asian markets are you already in? OmniPork have you launched? So
well, first of all, I want to thank, well, before we start, I got to thank Elaine and of course, Good Food Institute for inviting. I'm super glad to be, just have this event. First of all, it's not easy to put this together. And, through Zoom, glad to meet all of you around the world. I think some of you are, getting up in the morning in North America. So hi to all of you. Well, how many markets are we in right now? We're in at least 10. So China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia, Philippines, Japan, and very soon Korea. We recently just got into UAE as well. So OmniMeat in UAE, we're called OmniMeat.
You're in UAE?
So, yes.
Well, I didn't know that. Oh my God, that is super exciting.
Yeah, we're in the Coffee Club, which is one of the big cafe chain in UAE. And they just launched like 3 weeks ago or something like that. Yeah. So yeah, at least 10 countries and within the next 6 months, up to 15, 20. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
This is so amazing. I love watching that video. I just like love watching it again and again.
You like the music, right?
Also like the partnership, right? Like that saves me so much time because like so many partnerships, it's just go boom, boom, boom. So are there like recent partnerships? That's because so many things have been happening like in the past month for Green Monday as well.
Yes.
Yeah, that you want to mention.
Well, that video was made in May when we were announcing the new OmniPork products, which include the OmniPork luncheon meats, or called spam, right? Vegan spam, and also our OmniPork strips. So that video was from May, and a lot has happened since then in the last 3 months. So most recently, in China, we launched in a mega dumpling chain called Jixiang Yuntuan, Gachang Wantan, okay. And this is a big nationwide chain, and we launched in 500 shops in Shanghai and nearby, and it will roll out to more towards next month and beyond. And then White Castle in China just launched an OmniPork kimchi burger. That's I haven't tasted yet because I haven't been able to travel. And then KFC Hong Kong launched the Gardein product for their burger, and the nugget from Alpha.
Wow.
And these are products that we distribute as well. So just to name a few, but actually there's so many more happening at the same time.
So you are already selling like 1 million OmniPork dumplings in Taiwan per week, right?
Correct.
1 million OmniPork dumplings. So now you're actually in China as well. So that it's hard to imagine that number.
We have the dumpling coalition right now. We have the dumpling army. So in Taiwan, we work with Bafang Yunji, which is the biggest QSR chain in Taiwan. They have 1,000 stores. And yes, we're selling about 1 million dumplings, OmniPork dumplings per week. And then in Hong Kong, we launched with Wan Chai Ferry, which is the #1 frozen dumpling brand. They own 70% plus of market share of frozen dumpling. And we will be rolling out in China very soon as well. And then in China is Jixiang, which is the local mega chain. So between Jixiang and Bafang and Wan Chai Ferry, this is the vegan dumpling coalition.
Someone in the chat box is already saying, where do I sign up to join the dumpling army?
Oh, we can talk afterwards. But, I'm a fan. When we create OmniPork, I mean, I still remember on the drawing board on day one, it's like, hey, what are the things that we want to create? And I said dumplings, the meats or the minced meats that is used in xiaolongbao or dumpling, whether it's steam or pan fried, different kinds of recipes or cooking method. But that was indeed the original intention from day one. So to have this huge launch across China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and others, this is just extremely encouraging, and also we are receiving, of course, very good feedback, very overwhelming feedback.
Yeah. Okay, David, we said that we're gonna wing this, and I'm just gonna let this conversation take us where we go, right? I have so many questions I want. One, you obviously were being Chinese and have been in this market for so long. Everybody's asking what is the product that is suitable for this market? Just now in the previous session, we already talked about come on, Asia is not one market. China is not even one market, right? And you know that better than anyone else. Is there such thing as a hamburger for the East? Is there?
the burger of the East, right?
Yeah.
Well, indeed. I mean, it is more fragmented in that sense. I mean, so it's not apple to apple, right? I mean, I always like to explain that the way Asian people use meats is not the same as, for example, let's say in North America, whether people eat steak or burger, I mean, the meat is the plates, it's the center of the plates, and it occupies, 60, 70%, or in some cases, 100% of the plates. But with Asian cooking, whether that is Chinese food, Japanese food, Thai food, Korean, it is usually blend in with something else. It's not, of course, we have, pork chop. Of course, we have, big piece of meats too. But usually it is stir fried with something, or it is stuffed into, dumplings or something, right? So it is a different way of approaching how meat is used and how people consume meat. So it's not. So that's why the understanding of local culture is so important. And again, even within China, northern, southern, eastern, western China obviously are not the same.
So you have now taken OmniPork into 10 different markets. Can you just sort of tell, like, what surprises you most, or like how every different market, the strategy is a bit different, right? How did you approach that?
Well, first of all, I mean, the compliance and regulations are different. That's number one. So before we even get into, how to brand and market, is to get through and get into these markets. I mean, each require, just a different set of, paperwork, a different set of maybe even formula, and certainly packaging too, right? Language, packaging. In the case of China, I mean, they have very strict regulations on what you can put on the packaging. You cannot say you are, number one, you are world leading, you are whatever. There are a lot of words that you cannot use, but it's generally very standard or normal in most of the other countries. In the case of Taiwan, there's the huge import duty issue that, they very much protect their local agriculture. So any food import is usually quite tricky, and there's the huge import tax. So yeah, I mean, with each country, now of course in our case, because we are doing plant-based pork, right? And for Malaysia, Indonesia, or UAE, clearly these are countries that require a halal certificate, and we are called Omni Meats in those countries rather than OmniPork due to cultural reasons. So there are so many nuances. Some of them are subtle, some of them are very blatant, very explicit, and it really requires understanding of different countries and culture. It's definitely, I mean, now it seems like I'm just saying, oh, we're in 10 countries and 15, 20 very soon, but by no means was it an easy journey. And that's the reason why I think besides our own product, we are also working with many brands. We have been distributing and partnering with many brands, Beyond Meat, of course, since early days, Gardein, Calivia, Miyoko, Stea, and a lot of times it's that knowledge that we are very happy to share, and that will save everyone a lot of time, both the people who want to bring these products to their country and the brands who want to enter these markets. So Green Monday as a group is more than just our own product, but we are a platform and an ecosystem that we want to help accelerate and advance the whole plant-based and future food movement.
Yeah, I think that's like a super nice way to launch into talking about the group structure of Green Monday, because that is the thing that kind of was most fascinating to me. Is so I'm going to share here the organization chart of Green. I think now, if some audience don't know yet, some of the audience don't know yet, Green Monday Group operates in almost every aspect of alternative proteins, from non-profit to wholesale to retail to food service, having your own plant-based meat startup, OmniPork, and also venture capital. So, like, it is still super fascinating to talk about this when we're at 2020, but it's even more fascinating when you started in 2012. And to have that vision back then, like, how did that happen?
How did that happen? It's because nothing was happening. How did this happen? It's because nothing was happening at that time. In the US, I spent many years of my life in the US, including my study, college, and early part of my career. I actually turned plant-based when I was still living in New York. That was back in 2001. And I've been following the whole, kind of green ecosystem. Now, because I have been eating plant-based, so naturally, I follow the news, both the nonprofit, kind of the advocacy side, and the for-profit, or kind of the food innovation, food tech side. And then, organizations, at that time, even, of course, GFI was not even back then, but Humane Society, Mercy for Animals, and then early, venture capital, like New Crop Capital, of course, Stray Dog, and then Beyond Meats, Hampton Creek, Impossible. I mean, I was watching from afar, right? I mean, so there were these kind of activities or early startups that was happening, 7, 8, 9 years ago. It was still early at that time. But in Asia, I mean, nothing was happening. In fact, when I, in every meal, when I encounter someone, obviously they would ask me, oh, why am I eating plants? Well, at that time, even the term plant-based was non-existent.
Yeah.
So why am I a vegetarian? Am I Buddhist? And there will be a ton of questions that follow, and it just doesn't lead to anything. And then, of course, when I start to say that this is related to sustainability, climate change, and all that, like, people just look at me with like a blank face. It's like, what am I talking about? I'm basically like from another planet. So when it got to the point, and that was of course 2012, that it bothered me enough, I guess, that if this is something so important and no one was doing anything about it, then I don't know. I mean, I will take a crack. I guess, obviously, and many people here in this room, right? I mean, in this cyber, room, we all share the same mission and the same passion that, this is something that needs to be done. We have to do whatever it takes, because we are talking about the survival of the planet and the sustainability of humanity and all that. So, yeah, I mean, I sat down, with, the core, team, which was only a small number of people. And I said, it will take more than one thing to move the needle. It's not just to create a food product. It's not just to create an advocacy group or a movement. We need more. We need a holistic plan and a holistic ecosystem. So that's how we came up with this model. Now, of course, at that time, the name Omni or Green Common, of course, did not exist. But what I knew from day one was that we need to have the education and advocacy on, which is the nonprofit. We need to have the solutions on, which is to empower people with choices. Just like how you cannot just tell people not to drive a fossil fuel car. You got to give them an alternative, whether that's electrical vehicle or whatever renewable energy cars, right? So we need to have that, the Tesla of food. We need to have the solar panel or the wind turbine of food. So that's the solution piece. And then finally, the venture capital arm is, the resources to partner and to stimulate more activities to grow this ecosystem, because we are not going to be able to do this alone. No one can do this alone. It will take a whole coalition of equally driven people and companies to move the needle, which is happening right now around the world. I mean, it's happening all around the world with new exciting companies, exciting products, and a lot of people who are dedicated to advocacy, education, including GFI, right? So yeah, I mean, I guess that's the reason why we came up with this model. So when people talk about Green Monday, it's not just one single entity. It's actually we are 3 or 4 things in one.
Yeah, I love what you said about like one thing is not enough to move the needle, right? And that is why like I so wanted to have this chat with you and kind of focus on that whole business strategy and building that whole ecosystem, right? It's really building an ecosystem from scratch. I think that story about Green Monday Group is not told enough, and I think it is so important to tell that story because, especially in Asia or even like UAE, right? These are like the markets actually don't exist yet. People would be going in there and building the ecosystem from scratch. So I'm very interested with the vertical play where, you just can't just do one thing when there's nothing happening. As when you started, alt protein is not a thing, is not a sector. You're just building this from scratch. Like Mock Meat 2.0, nobody was thinking about it that way at that time, right? So I think like what you have been through is actually gonna be relevant for so many other people because in the world, different markets were just at different stages. And that's super awesome, yeah.
I gotta say, like more people now ask about OmniPork, and less people may know about Green Common. But opening the first Green Common, store and restaurant back in 2015, that is more than, that really, I would say that is a huge watershed moment, in fact, because like in Asia, in Hong Kong, definitely, there's no Whole Foods markets, there's no organic, supermarket. Now, of course, Whole Foods is not completely vegan, but still, there is a place, or there are some places, the natural food channels that, these new innovative plant-based products can have an outlet to go to. But here, we don't even have that outlet. We don't even have that channel. Consumers, if they want organic food, they go to like super high-end supermarkets that, charge you an arm or a leg, to buy an organic tomato or organic asparagus. But they're not necessarily only carrying organic food. They're also carrying a lot of other food that may or may not be the best in terms of health, and certainly sustainability is not the point that they take into consideration. So opening Green Common, in 2015 was not a small deal. At that time, people had no idea why we need to create a vegan supermarket and a vegan restaurant showcase, a plant-based restaurant showcase. But today, when you walk into Green Common, it really is the showroom for majority of the innovative plant-based brands. When people order an all-day breakfast at Green Common, the sausage is a Beyond Sausage, the egg is just egg, or when they order, whether it's a ramen or noodles, and we are combining multiple, because that is what it takes. That's what the consumers actually need, right? They need the total solution. They need the total experience, whether that is the burger. So in the case of burger, right? People can choose a cheeseburger, but the cheese is Daya cheese and the burger, let's say, is Beyond Burger. So, but at the end, the consumers want a cheeseburger or they want the all-day breakfast. It's not just a single product or single brand. So Green Common, the impact of Green Common cannot be like underestimated. And that also is the reason why, since 2015, we've been bringing many of these brands, from North America or from other places in the world to Asia, and make it very easy for the brands to reach the consumers and very easy for the consumers to understand that actually there's such a wide range of selection now with plant-based innovation.
Yeah, it's truly like a showroom. The Green Common. Yeah. How many brands do you carry now?
Wow.
About 50 or so. It's an amazing collection.
Yeah, we distribute at least 30 brands. I lose track of the exact number, but for majority of these brands, this Green Common and Green Monday would be a very good go-to partner, because it just saves them time and effort, and as I said earlier, right? All the knowledge to get into each market. If every brand has to do it himself or herself, it just simply would take so much effort, and it still may not work. So we very much want to be that bridge, and to expedite and just accelerate the penetration of these products into the markets, and let the consumers have their choices as quickly as possible, and let these brands reach their consumers as quickly as possible as well.
Yeah, so we're talking about I want to take you down the memory lane now, David. You're gonna, I didn't show you this picture before. So this is about how David and I met. The reason why I'm telling the story is to take a picture of David has been around for a long time, really early, first mover in the industry. We can then talk a bit about how, where do we go from here? Let me. Oh my God!
Wow!
You recognize your pocket.
Come on. Okay, these are supposed to be not for public, right?
I put in very heavy filter because I'm there too. My team was saying that's you. I'm like, what? What do you mean, right? David trying to change the world and adding 20 years on our face in the past. So let me just tell the story real quick. This was 2014, literally I was sitting in a cafe and David just walked by, right? By 2014, David was already the face of this whole new movement. And I was like, oh my God. I was like so starstruck. What did I do? And I actually ran out and stopped David. I don't know, David, do you remember what I said to you?
I honestly don't remember, to be honest.
I said, David, you don't know me, but I've liked you for a long time. Like true crazy stalker style. And then what happened then was
Hey, Elaine, we got like 300 people watching here.
yeah. Tell the story because like that was okay. David, you look like a baby at that time. So fast forward, like a few days later, I actually found myself in David's office for what turned out to be an interview, and I think I got a job offer. And so fast forward, I still feel super lucky until this day that I got to join and see the magic like happening behind the scene at such an early stage, thanks to David. And I'm going to show another picture to like, this is our first trip to Beyond Meat. So at that time, I still remember like it was 2014, we walked into their office where literally like there were machines like mixing ingredients like right beside the entrance. They were a team of 20 or something, right? And obviously everybody knows like Beyond now IPO at $25. Last time I checked, they're now at $130 or so now. Things have moved, you know. I guess when you're at it, you've been doing it for 8 years. So it's not like it happened overnight at all. It was a lot of resilience, like just a lot going into it, like blood and sweat. Sort of where, as such an early mover, where do you see this sector going? And you've talked a lot about collaboration. Where are we going from here?
Well, first of all, I still want to talk about that picture in Beyond Meat's headquarters. That was 2014. And yes, I mean, it's hard to believe. Even at that time, they were, as Elaine said, they were about, 22, 23 people at that time. I mean, who could have thought that, 5-6 years later, they would become, global news, and every day they are on headlines. Analysts, Wall Street, investment banks, analysts are talking about Beyond Meat. Now, I mean, their IPO, needless to say, is the mega milestone for the industry, not just for their company, but for the industry. It opened people's mind and realized that this space, is for real. For the longest time, alternative protein, meat analog. To explain that to new markets, here in Asia, it really is like banging your head against the wall. People had no idea why this is necessary. What's wrong with eating meats? Pork, beef, chicken, any meat and seafood. But this year, I think, is because obviously of COVID and all the climate change catastrophes that have been happening around the world. Amazon, Australia early this year, and then all the virus. African swine fever, of course, has been devastating the hog industry in China and other countries in Asia. Vietnam also highly devastated by African swine fever. I guess all the risk, all the warning that we have been giving to people about how the food system will be collapsing actually has collapsed. It is collapsing right now. And every aspect of our life is being threatened by it. Public health, of course, food security. Now this year we get to witness and see basically in every country, all the meat packers, all the meat producers, they are seeing some kind of closure or major outbreak of the pandemic within their factories. So how fragile and how vulnerable the food system is, and how unsustainable the meat production and supply chain is, I think those are all exposed this year. So both in terms of from the consumer's point of view, from industry players' point of view, whether that is restaurants or supermarkets or anyone related to the food supply chain, and then of course government point of view. I mean, they are realizing that this is real risk. I mean, running out of food, not having enough nutrition, protein to feed their population. I think this is now fully exposed. So plant-based, I think, ironically, 2020 is going to be the mega turning point year. And, there's no doubt. I mean, now I think rather than trying to convince people why we need to go alternative, plant-based, cell-based, this is no longer a choice. We have to switch. And I think we are just getting started. I mean, as an industry, we're just getting started. So it is extremely exciting. There's no doubt. I mean, super promising. And I really look forward to many, many more innovations. We need so many choices. Like with food, it cannot be just one or two brands or one or two choices, right? People need variety. No matter how much they love, sushi or pizza or dim sum. I mean, no one would eat dim sum like 14 days in a row, or sushi 14 days in a row. I mean, I hope most people don't. So I mean, that variety, that options is extremely important. So yes, I mean, it's super exciting. And for all of you in this room who either are already in the field or are thinking of participating in some way or some form. I mean, as an investor, as an entrepreneur, as an activist, in whatever regard, I think we are just getting started. It's extremely exciting.
And so one question, I bet you've been asked this a lot recently, like in the last 6 to 8 months, right? How have you seen the sales actually? Like, have you seen a lot of movement there? Like you have different kind of, you're really on the ground, OmniPork and also all the other brands that you distribute.
Yes, I mean, we, just like all the data that is, that have been reviewed around the world, same thing is happening here in Asia. Since March, I mean, which is kind of the peak of the outbreak as far as Hong Kong goes, and also in China as well. Of course, a lot of people have to stay at home, and they are becoming much more conscious. They are becoming much more aware. So despite the fact that food service sales clearly has dropped, but the retail side has absolutely skyrocketed. I mean, we are talking about 3 or 4 or 5-fold increase, depending on the and depending on the region or market. So, the before after, like before was just basically January, or before and then after is since February and March. I mean, the increase or the soar, the degree of how far, I mean, the increase has been is honestly is quite it is truly mind-blowing in a very good way. And I have now so many people coming to us, and they would send me pictures, they would tag me on Instagram, LinkedIn, and just saying how they start eating, they start going green Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, every week now in their family. I have people who, for the longest time, they have ignored what I've been doing. And all of a sudden, they're like, hey, I'm going to Green Common for lunch on a regular basis. They're buying takeaway. They bring home meals, buying takeaways or ordering, food delivery, lunch and dinner. So it's extremely encouraging. Most recently, another big chain that launched OmniPork is a chain called Tongki, which they do baos and dim sum, and they have 100 shops in Hong Kong at the most high traffic area, like subway stations, next to the markets, so super high traffic. And Tongki, since their launch about a month ago, has been absolutely amazing. They can't believe they're sold out like at 1 p.m. Like the stock that is supposed to last the whole day, they're sold out at noon or 1 p.m. And they couldn't believe that the vegetarian, plant-based items. I mean, they never could imagine that, vegetarian could sell like that. So, every single day we are getting more people on board, both consumers and restaurants and businesses.
That day I bought a delivery from Hongdae, and it was, how much was it? So the rice with, how do I say that? Mu choi. I don't know how to say that in English, but it's like a meal, right? And it and it costs, baht, which is like not even $4 in US, $3.5 in US dollars.
Yeah, it's like $3.50 US.
Yeah, $3.50 US dollars, and that's a meal. It's very affordable. I took a picture and sent to David. I was in the salon, and like that was my dinner. It's extremely, extremely affordable. So should we, David? I want to talk a little bit about market and price. I'm gonna let me share this. So first of all, this is like a full page advertisement on OmniPork that is so amazing, and this is how you see OmniPork in a supermarket, like just with all the meat products, which is super amazing. So we were just talking about price. I actually, because like this price parity thing, right? So this is what I did. The audience, you can like double click on that to like maximize it to see. So people are constantly like kind of making fun of how expensive plant-based options are. Like the other night I was watching Netflix and like a comedian was saying like, oh yes, this tastes exactly like a real hamburger, only that it's twice the price. So let's talk about price parity. And it's a super important factor, right? And I think especially in the Asian market, it's a really important factor. So I went ahead and did a little bit of research. So this is HKTV Mall, where you do your e-grocery shopping. So I actually got like this is my shopping cart of all of these are minced pork, because we need to be comparing apple to apple, right? All of these minced pork, well, only OmniPork is the vegan version of it. So I actually, on the right side, you saw me put together this little calculation. So we're doing this price like per gram. And for others, not. So this is Hong Kong dollars. So you divide it by 8 and you get the US dollar equivalent. And so this is what I found, right? Like there is definitely a range of price with minced pork. So the cheapest one is this one from like Danish pork loin mince. OmniPork is number 4 in these 6. And I think looking at this, right, so which one are the most expensive one? The first one, you see this one. In Chinese, it says there's no hormone. I think that's why it's more expensive. The second one is like a farm direct one, so you actually know the stores. So I think like when we talk about price parity, this is important. Like even with minced pork, you do have quite a wide range if you look at the calculation that I did there, because you do have lower quality ones and higher quality ones. And it's really awesome that OmniPork basically sit in the middle of that range. And this is not even the sale price, right, David?
Yes. So, well, first of all, I think this, is a very good chart that you are putting together. Is one snapshot, an easy illustration of, when people, used to keep asking, right? When will the price come down? When will it be mainstream? We are at mainstream right now. As we mentioned at Tongki, a meal is $3.50 US. And in the case of the retail pack here, what Elaine is showing is our list price. But we are constantly doing in multiple channels that when people buy 2 packs or 3 packs, there will be an additional 10 or 15% discount. So really, 90% of people do not buy 1 pack. I mean, they are getting kind of the 2-pack or 3-pack combo, which would bring the price to around 12 to 13 cents per gram, which is basically the second or third lowest on this list. But of course, this is high quality, nutritious, hormone-free, antibiotic-free, and plant-based. So now when people ask if whether price is a barrier for anyone, I can genuinely say that is absolutely no barrier right now. Anyone, I mean, we're not talking about high-end supermarket or supermarket where, you know, kind of the more sophisticated group of consumers will do their grocery. We're talking about mass penetration. In Singapore, I mean, the story that I love to share most is that, you know, besides many prestigious, you know, renowned restaurants that are using our products, if you go to hawker center, Singapore, of course, they are known for kind of street food, hawker food. You can go to a Singapore hawker center, actually multiple locations, and you will find that OmniPork dishes, a full meal, is at $4 which is like $2.80 US or something like that. I mean, those are the cases that actually I'm most proud of, is that, you know, anyone, anywhere can enjoy, you know, nutritious, high quality, good tasting plant-based food. And that is, you know, our slogan. I mean, the ethos or the motto of our whole group is to make change happen and make green common. And that's also the reason why our shop, our restaurant is called Green Common, is we got to make this mainstream, common to everyone. So, I mean, we are there already, but at the same time, we're still such a young company. We are nowhere near the economy of scale that we will achieve in the next, you know, 12, 24, 36 months. So it is very encouraging. And I mean, nothing is more important to me and our colleagues than to make this, you know, affordable and common to everyone.
Awesome. I do have, let's say, I think we should move on to Q&A because we have a lot of questions from the audience. Right. Okay. There is actually a price point question, so I'm going to dive right into it. So the audience asks, is pricing for the product all about the ingredients? In what ways technology can help to bring down the cost of production?
Well, I mean, price is a combination of a lot of things, right? Or cost is a combination of, obviously, you know, the technology behind it, the ingredients behind it, where it is manufactured. So it's an equation, it's a combination of all these components. And obviously, different company will choose their strategy differently. So, I mean, I cannot speak on behalf of every company or every brand out there. But ultimately, you know, depending on what their positioning is, what they want to achieve, is a combination. But there's no doubt. I mean, from a technology, from a formulation standpoint, what goes into the formulation clearly will make a difference.
And
it's a balance, right? It's a balance. So, like, if you want to achieve, like, okay, just like anything in the world, I mean, it's a balance of, let's say you want, you know, you may want that extra 10% improvement, but if that extra 10% quality improvement costs you 100% more, then, you know, how do you prioritize or how do you balance that? I mean, those are the discussions that our team has on an ongoing basis with every single product. And, you know, sometimes it's not an easy choice. You know, you want to have the best and most affordable and the most efficient and the most nutritious everything. But it is about striking the balance. So, yeah, it's not something that I can just share with a 1 minute or 2 minute answer, but it is a combination of different elements.
Yeah, there is another question from the audience that kind of relate to that, to give some perspective, right, or context. How long did it take for the R&D of OmniPork before you get the product?
Well, it certainly took more than 1 year. I mean, to be exact, probably 1.5 years. Now that was several years ago, and of course we have been growing our team. We've been, you know, expanding our facilities. So going forward, of course, I don't expect to take, you know, another year for one product. I mean, we will be scaling up much faster. And of course, we have multiple teams working on things simultaneously. Yeah, I mean, so, but to answer the question of how long it took, then it took somewhere between a year and a half.
Yeah, and I love what you said about balancing, right? Because I think in the Asian market or Chinese market, like mock meat is not new. Mock meat is a known thing. It has been here for hundreds, if not thousands of years, right? So you do need to strike the balance of like how do you differentiate yourself from the kind of 1.0 product? Like how is this different? How is this alternative protein? And I think I'm going to move on to a lot of people have questions about markets because obviously you have experience venturing into 10 different markets. So there are general questions about like what do you think about OmniPork's prospects outside of Asia? There are people also asking about like your specific experience in, let's say, the Japan market. Yeah, just in general, like your market entry insights.
Well, we just entered Japan, like literally a couple of weeks ago. Now, of course, well, we know COVID has, really, kind of wreaked havoc around the world, and Japan, of course, included. So we were going to launch sometime around April or May, but of course that got delayed to now. And even now, it is still not the full launch that we hope because, so many parties, so many entities that we were engaging, they are dealing with their own struggles right now. But still, we do see, again, it's about finding the right type of food or the right type of restaurant chains that will create the biggest noise and to really crack the market open. Now, for example, I mean, in Taiwan, we already work with, like, actually, what is unique is that whether it's Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, China, again, many of these restaurant groups or supermarket chains or convenience stores, they are regional. I mean, they are not just in one country or one market. So the fact that we have already started the partnership in whichever country or whichever market, it oftentimes accelerate things like 100 times in terms of getting into the same chain, but in the different markets, different countries. So leveraging that network is tremendously important. And that also is kind of the invaluable thing that we have built over the years is, of course, we're based in Asia. And of course, we have been doing this for the last 8 years. So a lot of the connections have been built up. We've accumulated a lot of that. And now, I mean, what usually would take 6-12 months to do, we may end up just taking 3 or 4 months, if not less. So I mean, of course, every country and every market is different, but and there are a lot of things we need to learn. So by all means, I don't pretend like I know the Korean market, I know the UAE market. No way. So we need to on one hand is find local partners, on the other hand is also build up our regional teams in those markets. So it really is a combination.
Other than, so this is my own follow-up question. Other than partnerships, you do a lot of, because OmniPork really is like an ingredient that can be then turned into many different versions, right? In different markets, are you doing something like ready-made meals and, so different versions of it, it all use the OmniPork as the raw ingredient, but like different end product that you use to go into different markets.
Correct. I mean, so dumplings being the easy example, right? Now, OmniPork is the ingredient, but it can go into a lot of things. So whether it is a co-branded product or our own brand. So under Omni, we have Omni Eat, which is our ready-to-eat line. And the ready meal includes, dumplings, include dim sum, include, fried rice, stir-fry noodles, Thai basil, curry rice, etc. And Omni Eats is designed to be, again, for people who don't cook or don't have time to cook, then, this would be their solution, or like nowadays we work from home, or we prefer not to eat out or dine out, then it is the simple solution to people. So at the end, everything is about understanding local culture and local demand, and how food is consumed. Obviously, it is a wide spectrum, and we try to cater to each part of the spectrum as much as we can.
Yeah, I think we're right on time now. I don't want to go over. There are a lot of questions happening in the chat box. A lot of questions sent to Viola as well. We've picked some. Unfortunately, we can't cover them all. But I just want to thank David so much. I'm seeing so many comments in the chat box saying how inspiring this has been, and I'm just really grateful that you are able to spare this time with us. Is there? Oh, I should let you wrap up, David.
No, well, first of all, thank you again. And obviously because of COVID, we are not able to meet this room of 300 people in person. But certainly keep in touch. You can easily look me up on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and in the meantime, I really look forward to more people and more companies, just driving this change together. This cannot be done alone. No company or no group can do this single-handedly. We have to join efforts. Talking about tackling climate change, this whole food sustainability crisis, security crisis. This is a massive undertaking. So I just hope that myself and my group can play a small part in catalyzing this change, and really look forward to connecting with as many of you as possible. Feel free to look me up on LinkedIn or Instagram.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, David. We're going to do a little wave goodbye photo before we go. Thank you so much.
Yeah.